Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is J.R. Moore coming to you live from deep in the mountains of the Missouri Ozarks on Monday, the 14th day of October, year of our Lord 2019, and welcome to the John Moore Show. We begin our shows with something that Maxine Waters really doesn't like. That would be the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Prepper tip of the day, we encourage all of you to check your battery inventory. Make sure you've got many more batteries than you think you may ever need. If you use rechargeables, get the low self-discharge batteries, and make sure you have multiple chargers, including solar-powered chargers for your batteries. And last but not least, when you store your devices that use batteries, be sure and remove the batteries first. That would be just a really smart thing to do. We have patient Wayne in the green room, my friend Sam Andrews. Sam is the proprietor of Freedom Center USA. The Facebook page is Freedom Center USA. The telephone number down there in beautiful Lebanon, Missouri, where we will have a concealed carry class if we get enough students on Saturday the 2nd of November. That telephone number is 417-718-2597. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, John. How are you, sir?
Well, if I felt any better, it wouldn't be legal. How about yourself, sir?
I had a great weekend. Beautiful weather here at the Freedom Center. We got a lot of work done on the firing line. It was got some CQB training in for some students from out of state. It was just a great weekend.
Outstanding. Sam, before we get into, the firearms tip of the week, there's a crisis in the Middle East, which is not anything new, but apparently Turkey and Syria are about to engage in combat against each other, Syria being a client state of Russia and Turkey being a NATO member. Do you have any comments on that before we get to the firearms tip of the week?
Well, a lot of these conflicts in that area of the world are a result of bad policies out of Great Britain in the 1900s, 1920s, 1940s. If you're really interested in understanding the area and why these conflicts seem to be ongoing, they've been going on for hundreds of years, thousands of years. But if you really want to understand the nature of the modern conflicts over there, it would be a great thing to research the history of Great Britain and their policies and how it affected that area in the 1900s and in the subsequent years. I think that you'd find that of great value.
I do presentations on that very topic, and you're correct. At the end of, Turkey picked the wrong side of World War I, and the consequence of that was their many centuries old Ottoman Empire was broken apart, and England oversaw the breakup. And I don't want to dwell on that too much longer, but you're absolutely right. Well, what would be the firearms tip of the week, sir?
Well, this week I'd like to talk about semi-auto pistols.
Okay. Well, people love that.
Striker fire designs and anything that has a firing pin on it. What a lot of people don't realize is these mechanisms are not very complicated. You have a firing pin. You have a spring or a hammer that accelerates the firing pin to the primer. You also have a physical stop somewhere in the slide and a flange or a surface 90 degrees to the travel of the firing pin that will stop the travel of the firing pin at a certain point. All semi-auto pistols, after being fired with multiple rounds, will build up powder residue between the surface on the slide that stops the firing pin and the surface on the firing pin that hits that surface on the slide. If you don't get your slide taken down apart and cleaned every 500 rounds or so, depending on the design and how dirty your ammo is, you are eventually going to get what we call a light primer strike and intermittent ignition. In other words, sometimes your pistol will go bang, and sometimes it will not go bang. You have to get that firing pin out, clean the slide, and clean the firing pin on a regular basis to have a reliable semi-auto pistol.
Well, that's good advice, and advice that could actually save some lives. Pulling a pistol out when there's life at risk and not having it go bang could have very disastrous consequences.
It can. I had a young guy that had just gotten out of the Army. This was about 3 years ago. He was working in an Italian restaurant just a couple doors down from the shop. And he came in and he bought some ammo from me, about 500 rounds. He was happy. He walked away. The next day he comes back in and he takes all 500 rounds that he has. He now has them in a Ziploc bag. And he literally throws them onto the counter of the shop, onto the glass display case, slams them down on the display case, and says, "This ammo's junk." And I said, "Why would you say that, young man? We've sold tens of thousands of rounds of that lot of ammo. Not a single person's ever complained." And he pulls out 4 cases where the firing pin has hit the primer, but the bullet didn't discharge.
Right.
So he hands me these 4 rounds, and he says, "Well, here's why they're junk." And I looked at the back of the primer, and I mean, it was the smallest primer strike I'd ever seen.
Right.
The firing pin didn't get 0.003, 0.005 of an inch into the back of the primer, and it needs to be 40 thousandths deep into the primer.
Right.
So it didn't even make it a tenth of the way into the primer, which was why the rounds didn't go off. And I said to him, I said, "Well, do you have your pistol with you?" And he said, "Of course. What does that have to do with it?" Okay, and so I asked this young man, "Do you have your pistol with you?" And he said, "Yes, I do." And I said, "Did the Army teach you how to take it apart and clean it?" He said, "Of course they did. Your ammo sucks. Why are you talking about my pistol?" And I said, "Well, you need to go get your pistol." And he reluctantly went to his truck, brought his pistol in the shop. And I said, "So they taught you how to clean this?" I said, "Take it apart and show me what you cleaned." And he was very angry at that point. He took his pistol apart. And I said, "Okay, have you ever taken the firing pin out of this?" He said, "Well, no, the armorer handled that." And it was a Beretta 92.
Right.
And
right.
I said, "So you've never cleaned this pistol properly in all the time you've owned it. How many rounds have you fired through it?" He goes, "Probably about 2,000. I said, "I'll tell you what, how would you like 1,000 rounds of free ammo?" He goes, "Well, I don't want that junk ammo you sold me." And I said, "Not only is it not junk ammo, it's very good ammo. The real problem is you didn't clean your pistol properly, and I'm about to prove it to you." I said, "But I'll tell you what, if I take this slide apart and pull this firing pin out, and it's clean and not caked with powder, I'll give you 1,000 rounds of ammo. But if it's not clean and it's completely packed with powder and you realize your firing pin is not reaching your primers because you didn't clean your pistol properly, then I think you owe me an apology." And he said, "Whatever." And so I pulled the firing pin and the cover off the slide on the 92. You couldn't even see the spring on the firing pin. There was so much powder residue packed in there. It looked like someone had removed the firing pin and the spring and just packed burnt powder in the space.
Right.
I mean, it was a remarkable thing. This kid had never cleaned his pistol, never cleaned his firing pin assembly or his slide on the inside. And he was so embarrassed. He walked out of here, and the next thing you know, the owner of the Italian restaurant is in my store apologizing for this kid and saying, "I'm sorry he acted this way. I fired him." It's like, wow, that was art.
How did that all get back to the restaurant? And if what's the connection there? I don't know. How the restaurant owner even find out this all went? He was blowing his mouth off at the restaurant.
Apparently, the kid had run his mouth about the ammo being bad to the manager in the restaurant.
Right.
And then he went back and told them that he was wrong and that he didn't clean his pistol properly, and the manager told the owner of the restaurant.
Right.
And just a few hours later, the owner of the restaurant was in my shop apologizing for the guy, and he claimed he fired the kid, and I felt really bad for him. But, all of this can be solved just by cleaning that slide on a regular basis.
That's a shame. That's a shame. Life's lessons can be pretty tough sometimes. This young man had a very tough life lesson there that I'm sure he won't forget.
And it's not a bad idea when you've got a brand new clean firearm is to fire a couple of cases and just set them aside. And so if you ever have intermittent ignition problems, you can compare that case from when the gun was clean and brand new. You can look at the primer strike on the new case and look at the ones that aren't firing and see if your firing pin is going to the same depth into the primer.
Okay, when you said a couple of cases, I thought you meant a couple of thousand rounds. You mean a couple of shell casings, a couple of rounds.
Just a couple of shell casings.
Okay.
Take a couple of pieces of brass when you fire when the gun's brand new and clean, and look at the primer strike, or take a picture of it with your phone. Take a close-up picture of it with your phone if you don't want to keep the cases around or you want to reload the brass. But at least have something to compare to. You can see as the gun gets dirty, you can see that primer strike getting shallower and shallower. And it will. I've had it happen with my Glock 21s. I've had it happen with customers, Berettas and Springfields and their Smith & Wesson semi-autos. You have to get that firing pin out and clean that slide and clean that firing pin on a regular basis if you want that pistol to go bang.
Absolutely. Well, that equally applies to other semi-automatic firearms as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. I can relate a couple of stories about guys that didn't clean the flange on the firing pin of their AR-15s or their M4s. And if you don't get that firing pin out of there and clean that residue out on a regular basis, eventually your firing pin can't even reach the primer. You'll just barely touch the primer and you won't light the round off. And so anything that's got a semi-auto design, particularly the gas impingement ARs, are more prone to this than the piston-operated ARs, but you'll build up powder fouling until the slide, the bolt carrier won't cycle fully. And if you clean the bolt and clean the gun, the receiver, and put it back together, and you keep doing that without cleaning the firing pin flange, eventually the firing pin won't hit the primer hard enough, and the AR-15s won't light off.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, the main topic today is going to be semi-automatic pistols, so let's just jump right in there, sir.
You want to talk more about semi-auto pistols?
Well, that seems to be the topic of the day, so unless you want to go a different direction.
No, I think a semi-auto pistol is great if you have the finger strength to cycle the slide and make the gun safe. I think that there are aftermarket triggers that work really well that make it a lot easier to fire a semi-auto pistol accurately. I think learning how to, like on a Glock, when you pull the slide off the Glock pistol, all you need to do is slide that plastic tab that's in the back of the slide off, and you can disassemble the slide, get to the firing pin, pull everything out, flush it out with a straw and some quick scrub or something like that, clean the firing pin assembly, lube it up, put it back together. I mean, it's not a difficult thing to do. It's a lot easier than you realize. Go watch a YouTube video. If you're not sure what you're doing, watch somebody do it. It's actually not that hard.
All right. Well, there seems to be no shortage of new pistol manufacturers and new models coming out. It's just the whole area of firearms and pistols especially seems to be a area of strong growth in our economy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. And, I personally prefer the FN Herstall semi-auto pistols. They're a Glock clone, like most of the tactical level semi-auto pistols that are out there now. They have stronger slide tabs. They have a better trigger reset. There's a number of features. They have better magazines. The magazines drop free when they're loaded, half-loaded, empty. You generally have ambidextrous mag release buttons. You've got a lot of advantages over a Glock, and so it fits my hand better. If you have large hands, you really want to take a look at the FN line of pistols. If you have small hands, the Springfield XDs and the XDMs have a scallop in the grip that allows a small hand to get to the trigger a little easier. And so different semi-auto pistols will fit hands differently, and you want to make sure you get something that fits your hand.
Absolutely. We'll talk about this after we get back from the break. Stay tuned, everybody. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen, back. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 14th of October. We're going on a cruise, a little rest and recreation. It could be romantic if you choose it to be. We're leaving Florida the Sunday, the 9th of February, returning a week later, the 16th. It'll be a lot of fun. Leon Green's going with us. You've got until the end of October to reserve your cabin. And after that, well, we're all going on a cruise, with or without you. If you don't have internet access, give our cruise director a phone call. She will be glad to mail you a nice full-color brochure. Betsy Murphy, our cruise director, here's her telephone, 636-530-9502. I say again, 636-530-9502. Before I forget, tomorrow we're going to have a special news release. The first hour, I'm working with my friend Steve Ben Noon. This will be a news release, some genuine journalism taking place here that you're going to want to listen to. This is Farmers Monday. We're visiting with Sam Andrews, the proprietor of Freedom Center USA. The Facebook page is Freedom Center USA. The telephone number down in beautiful Lebanon, Missouri is 417-718-2597. Let's continue, Sam.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about holsters for pistols. A lot of people have a concealed carry holster, and that's great. They wear them inside the belt on the strong side, or they wear them in a padded shirt designed to carry a firearm in a deep concealment roll under the weak side arm. There's a number of different ways. Women they even have bra clips now that they can attach to their bra and keep a concealed carry pistol underneath their bra right below their sternum. There's just a lot of options for carrying pistols. There's elastic band holsters that go on the thigh. I've seen women wear under their skirts. A lot of ways to carry a concealed pistol. But I want to talk about carrying in a standard holster, open carrying on the strong side. If you have a holster that you carry on the strong side outside the belt, I want you to stand in front of a mirror and look at yourself with that holster on your body. And I want you to look at what angle is the gun coming out of the holster at. Is it straight up and down? Is the holster canted towards your kidneys? Is it canted out away from your body? And here's the thing. You need to have the holster at least vertical. If it's leaning in towards your body, and most people that are in good shape, if you're in good physical shape, for women it's more dramatic than men even, but if you're in decent shape, that pistol in a normal holster or an improperly designed holster is going to be leaning towards your body. So as you draw the pistol out of the holster, you're taking it into your body against your ribs. And that's not a good thing when tenths of a second matter to save your life. You need to be able to get that gun out of that holster cleanly without having interference with your shirt, your ribs, your kidneys, your fat roll, whatever might happen to be in the way there. And so when you carry a pistol open on your strong side, you need to go stand in front of the mirror and look at the way that holster lays on your body, and make sure that when you're drawing it out of the holster that you're not drawing it into your ribs. About 85% of the designs out there that I've seen actually have the pistol holster canted in so that when you draw the pistol, you wind up interfering with your shirt or your body or something, right there. It's not set at the right angle or the proper angle it needs to be at. I prefer the thing to be between 5 and 7 degrees away from vertical so that you're drawing slightly away from your body at a very shallow angle. That seems to be the setup that allows you to get the pistol out of the holster the quickest and the smoothest.
Well, it's good information there, Sam. And typically, men, I'm not so sure about women so much, but typically a man will end up with 3 or 4 different holsters, trying out different ones until they finally settle on the one they like.
Well, it can be a process trying to find a holster. We don't stock a lot of holsters at the Freedom Center. We order what people need because the differences in body shape and body type and preferences on holsters and the proliferation of all these different types of handguns out there, you could have $100,000 in inventory in holsters and not sell 5% of it because you never know what's going to fit somebody exactly right and what's going to work for them. You've got to try different things and see if you can find something that actually works. But the diameter of your waist and the diameter of your hips play a huge role in how the holster lays on your body. And you really need to get a holster that sets vertically or just outside of vertical if you want to be able to draw that pistol quickly and get it into play in short order.
Right. Here's our bottom of the hour break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here on Monday. It is Monday, the 14th day of October. My website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. If you're interested in staying up to speed on what's going on in this world, well, there's a section on my website that will help you keep up to date. This is updated daily by a friend of mine, former counterintelligence agent. It's called Open Source Intelligence. It's a lot of work. He's a very bright guy. He's retired. He's got the time to do this. And it's a great place to stay up to date. Also, my website, if you have arthritis pain, joint pain, maybe recovering from surgery, you need an energy cleaner. Pure and simple. You do. Athletes like the energy cleaner. Truck drivers use it on their over-the-road drives. I use mine every night. And you can also, if you have arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, recovering from surgery, you need an energy cleaner. $285, shipping included, American zip codes. You can study up on it there at my website, read the patent application information. You can place your order right there using PayPal for MasterCard, Visa, for the energy cleaner, the mattress pads. Right there at my website, you can place your order. Or you can call my toll-free order line 24 hours a day, keeping in mind I have a 90-day money-back guarantee. Here's that toll-free order line 24 hours a day, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. This is Firearms Monday. If you got a question or comment, anything related to firearms, the gun industry, legislation, give us a call at 800-313-9443. Well, Sam, women have issue with holsters on a belt on their waist because they're short-waisted, and invariably the pistol ends up digging up into their rib cage, doesn't it?
It can, but there are good holster designs out there that will get the pistol to lay at the proper angle on a woman's hip, and that's a good thing. And you can't generally use a holster designed for a man on a woman's waistline. If she's in good shape and she's got a little bit of the hourglass thing going on, a man's holster is going to lay slanted on her hip, and it will force her to draw the pistol right into her body.
Right. And even if she's not drawing the pistol, that pistol's most likely going to be digging into her rib cage anyway.
It certainly can if she doesn't have it in the right position. And we put spacers on holsters all the time to change the angle and to give a person more room. We had a student in from Texas this he had an AR-15 and a pistol. He was doing CQB training at the Freedom Center. And the first time he ran his El Presidente drill, I think he was around 25 seconds. And then we worked on some mag change drills. We worked on some trigger pull issues. We worked on reconfiguring his chest rig. And he had a plate carrier on underneath, and he had his chest rig over top of his plate carrier. But this chest rig was about 6 inches too high. And by lowering his chest rig and getting the top of those magazine pockets down where they were accessible, and by working on his mag changes and working on his trigger control and his rhythm, in less than 24 hours, he went from being 25 seconds to 6.5 seconds.
I bet he was a happy camper.
Yeah, I think his whole world kind of opened up. It kind of changed everything for him, you know. And when you can go from being at rank amateur speeds to being right up there with a Tier 2 asset operator from a speed standpoint, you've made quite a lot of improvement.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just a quick reminder, we were working to get a concealed carry class together at the Freedom Center for Saturday, the 2nd day of November. If you want to be there, and I'll be the instructor, Sam will be my co-instructor, give Sam a call to get on the roster for the concealed carry class Saturday, the 2nd of November. Give Sam a call at 417-718-2597. And the next entry-level precision rifle class, is that firmed up yet?
Yeah, that's October 26th and 27th. I think we have 2 or 3 slots still open. If you want to do some 0 to 1,000-yard work with a precision rifle, we've got a 2-day class that's Saturday and Sunday. It's 10 hours a day. You need 160 rounds of ammo. You need a gun you can hold consistently under a minute and a half, and you need a bipod, and a shooting mat wouldn't hurt as well.
Okay, and how many rounds of ammo again?
160 rounds for that class.
160.
2 days.
Okay. Well, it's a great opportunity, and I encourage people to take advantage of that.
You work on your wind reading skills. You work on how to synchronize the parallax knob to the ocular bell of your scope. You learn the sitting and prone positions. You learn the fundamentals of marksmanship for long-range shooting, which are sight alignment, shoulder pressure, trigger control, breath control, follow-through, all those things.
All the basics that a person needs to become a precision marksman, correct?
Yes, you will be given the foundational things that you need to make hits past 500 yards.
Well, like I say, it's a wonderful opportunity, and when this class fills up, there will be another one scheduled not too long after that, I hope.
Yeah, the second one, the last, probably the last long-range class of the year, the introduction to long-range shooting, is going to be, I believe, November 9th and 10th. So it'll be the weekend after the concealed carry class on the 2nd.
All right. We got a caller and holder. We got John in Tennessee. Good morning, John.
Good morning, John. Good morning, Sam. Sam, I'm considering a mini Roni conversion. I'd like to get your thoughts on it.
What type of conversion, sir? Could you repeat that?
It's a mini Roni for a Glock.
Yes. And
what are your thoughts on it?
You're seeking more energy? Is that what you're seeking?
Well, it's a little bit different platform for your handgun. It adds length and gives you a little more accuracy farther out.
Yeah, well, so
are you familiar with the conversion?
Yeah, a little bit. But what you want to do is, rather than get caught up in brand names or this, that, or the other, the best way to analyze conversion kits or changes to anything you do from a tactical or defensive standpoint is you want to go back to the 3 elements of physics: vector, velocity, and time. And so you have to ask yourself some honest questions. If I make this conversion kit for my handgun, do I realize in the real world, actually shooting this weapon system, do I see an improvement in vector velocity or time? In other words, is the gun more accurate? Do I hit with more energy? Can I produce the shot quicker in less time? If you answer yes to any one of those things and you don't lose performance in the other two areas, it's obviously a good improvement. And so
have
my
you had
question for
anybody
you
that's done it? I
I
mean,
haven't
it's
had
not
any
it's not a
students
one-time deal. You can take your pistol out in a matter of a couple seconds. You know,
yeah,
pistol goes into the conversion.
Yeah, it goes into the frame. I understand.
Right.
I think that it is certainly an enhancement in accuracy. I don't see how you could not be more accurate with that system. Now my question is, why would you want to do that if you could defend your life with a supersonic rifle round? Do you have an answer to that question? Is there a reason?
Well, yeah, basically you're able with that system to carry it. You can put it under coat and you're legal. You've got almost like I don't know if I'm saying it properly, but it's almost like a handgun rifle that you can carry that's shorter than a rifle, and you can actually put it on a sling and carry it concealed legally. So if it really came down to where you need the accuracy and you've got a choice of one handgun with actually two systems. I may be all wet, but this is the way that I'm able to express it.
No, I like what you're thinking. I think you're probably accurate in saying there are specific applications where this thing could be a real advantage.
So have you ever operated one? Have you used it?
Well, I've used systems like it, and we have subguns, like the MK2000s. I mean, there's all kinds of different designs where pistol rounds are shot from something that can be shouldered more like a rifle, and there's no question about it that it's easier to be accurate with anything in that genre. So if you're looking for concealability and some enhanced accuracy at longer ranges, I think it's a winner. I really do.
Okay, well, that answers my question. I didn't want to come off my wallet without at least trying it out, and I do know some that has it. They seem to be very happy with it.
Yeah,
I
spend some time at the range.
Be happy with it.
Yeah, if you got a chance to try it out before you buy it, that'd be the way to go, John.
All right, well, thank you both.
Okay, thanks for the call.
Okay,
the call number
call.
is 800-313-9443. And we're here to answer your questions. Let's continue, Sam.
I think John brings up an interesting point when you're looking at conversion kits, or you're looking at changing calibers, or you're looking at changing a stock on a weapon system. Any type of changes you make to your weapons, you really want to think about it in those three elements of physics: vector, velocity, and time. That will answer your question for you. If you are going to get an enhanced accuracy performance from the change, and you're not degrading the time it takes you to produce a shot, or you're not degrading the velocity of the round in any way, or the energy level delivered to the target, that's a good thing. That's a plus. So when you make improvements in energy delivered to the target, or you make improvements in accuracy or consistency of accuracy, or you make improvements, and very importantly, in the time it takes you to produce a accurate shot, those are all elements of physics that prove that the changes you're making are worthwhile.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, any change I make is very carefully thought out in advance as to what my goal is, whether this change will achieve that goal. And then if I answer both those questions in the affirmative, then I'll go ahead and make the change. But it's anything that's a serious matter, such as defending your life. All these things need to be thought out very carefully in advance, don't they, sir?
Yeah, and it's not just enough to think them out in advance. What you advised John to do was to test or to try it at the range. See, thinking it out in advance is one of the steps. But here's the other thing. You have to test. You have to go out and prove to yourself in a live fire situation that the changes you make actually work and actually produce the benefit you anticipated they would.
Absolutely. We got another call here. We got Ty in Texas. Good morning, Ty.
Good morning, gentlemen. Normally it's Ty in Texas, but right now it's Ty in Missouri. I just left the Freedom Center after spending 2 days training with Sam this weekend. And I wanted to call and share that experience.
Well, thank you. How did it go there, Ty?
As I've been driving here for the last hour, I've been trying to come up with a way to succinctly express my experience, and the best way I can put it is that was the most important and fantastic 2 days of my adult life. Well,
that's a pretty serious language you're using there, sir, and I don't know how old you are, but it's a very complimentary and very serious statement.
Well, I'm about to be 45 here in a few months. I've had, compared to most people, quite a bit of training prior to hooking up there with Sam and doing that CQB in his class this weekend. And I also want to mention that Sam built me a rifle. We put together a 6.5 Grendel, AR-15 style, and I'm driving home with that right now, and I could not be more pleased with just everything from top to bottom. For you folks out there that have any desire to train, you need to go to the Freedom Center.
Well, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate that.
I'm curious, Ty, because you've been to a number of different types of training around the country. What did you find significantly different in your training here than you did at the other schools? Anything come to mind?
Yeah, for sure. I would say there's several things that you taught me, and one of the most important ones I would say is how to properly make ready, which includes a proper press check. My previous training, that was discouraged, very much discouraged, and so I came in to training this weekend with that mindset, and that was appropriately and professionally crushed, and I appreciated that so much because I feel like I've got a much better perspective on how to prepare for a fight now.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, we had a situation in the night training on Saturday night where a round was chambered, and then we went into a live fire drill, and you hear this deafening noise in the darkness. It's like click, nothing else. And it was interesting that the student had not done a press check. They had skipped that aspect when they made ready, and they got nothing coming out of their barrel. So it's kind of shocking.
This is Firearms Monday, visiting with Sam Andrews, proprietor of Freedom Center USA. Ty, you got any follow-up here before we let you go, sir?
Sure. A couple things. If you have any questions about my experience, I'll be happy to answer them. But for the audience, folks out there, if you're getting ready and you've made the decision to go train, I have a couple real quick pieces of advice for you. Number one, prepare to put your ego away. Prepare to be humbled. and try as much as you can to wring out your brain, squeeze out your sponge, and go in and soak up everything you can. Because if you go in with an open mind and your ego pushed aside, you will learn things that you never would be able to learn otherwise. So,
that's all right.
Unless you guys have anything for me, I'll let you go.
Okay, I don't have any questions. Sam, do you have any questions?
No, I want to thank Ty for coming to the Freedom Center. We enjoyed having him here, and he should be very proud of the improvements that he made in such a short time. We're proud of his performance as a student, and we expect great things from that guy. I can't wait to see him in a year come back and see what he can do with all of the practice drills we gave him.
All right.
Well, Sam, I'm honored to publicly thank you. And, John, I want to publicly thank you, because if it weren't for you bringing Sam on Firearms Monday, I would not be where I'm at right now.
Well,
thank you both, gentlemen.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome, Ty. Thank you. Be safe out there, and have a good trip home.
All right. See you again soon, Sam. Bye.
Okay.
Thank you, Ty.
Well, Sam, we're making a difference here. We're bringing Americans to get the training they need to keep America safe, make America great again, keep America great. I don't know what's coming in terms of geopolitical matters in this country. I know what the possibilities are. We discussed those possibilities. Even if we don't have nationwide civil disorder, crime is out of control in many parts of the country, and having these skills in normal times is just a good idea to defend innocent life from criminals, isn't it?
Absolutely. It helps you defend your home. It gives you confidence when you're outside the home. You know what to do in a situation where someone is a bad actor. It just changes everything about you, and it allows you to relax. It allows you to just relax and enjoy life, because you know if there's a problem, you've got the skills to take care of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was talking to a friend the other day about where homemade ice cream can be had in Metro St. Louis, and I mentioned a place, and my friend said, well, that's a dangerous neighborhood, and I said, don't worry, you'll be with me. But, well, that's a true statement. And there's many people, men and women both, who curtail activity, make changes in their life, don't do things they would like to do because of safety concerns. And I've heard it said, Sam, with some accuracy, that women's liberation ends at the beginning of a dark parking garage.
Yeah, that's a good statement.
We we have a break on Monday. It is Monday, the 14th day of October. Prep tip of the day, I will encourage all of you to check your battery inventory and make sure that the batteries are in good condition. If they're rechargeable, that they're properly charged up. If you do get rechargeable batteries, make sure they're the low self-discharge batteries, lithium-ion, low self-discharge batteries. That you have multiple chargers, including solar chargers, and that you absolutely store equipment with the batteries removed. That would be a really, really important thing. That's your prepper tip of the day. This is Firearms Monday, visiting with Sam Andrews, the proprietor of Freedom Center USA. The Facebook page is Freedom Center USA. The telephone number down there in beautiful Lebanon, Missouri is 417-718-2597. Well, Sam, we have a worldwide audience here. We easily could have students coming to you from Germany. I have a huge number of listeners in Germany, anywhere in the English-speaking world, obviously, a lot in Australia, New Zealand. You may get students from anywhere on the planet because of this outreach we've got here, Sam. And my heart goes out to people who live in any of the British Commonwealth because they're so anti-gun. And despite Australians are probably the closest to Americans in terms of what they believe, who they are, their lifestyle, and so forth. It's such a shame that the British Commonwealth is so anti-gun, isn't it, sir?
Yeah, they've outlawed guns, and now they're starting to outlaw knives. And I'm just wondering what they're going to cut their tomatoes with in about 3 years.
Well, my understanding in ancient China, there was one of those emperors that outlawed knives, which is how chopsticks came into being. I don't know if that's an accurate story or not, but if you defend your life and defend your home with a paring knife in London, you'll go to jail if you defend your life and your property with a kitchen knife, which is about all they're left with there.
I think they've got some cricket bats laying around, but
well, they'll probably make that. They'll make that illegal too. They'll get to the point where you can't defend yourself with anything except your bare hands, and then they'll make that illegal.
Well, the last stat I saw, the city of London had more murders with knives than New York did with guns.
Well, they have a Muslim mayor, and Muslims prefer to commit murder with knives because Muhammad committed murders with knives. He was, in fact, a murderer in addition to being a pedophile and a bigamist. So that doesn't surprise me at all, that the homicides involving knives have a large usage in London. But at the Freedom Center, people can get world-class training from world-class instructors at a world-class facility, which is becoming better each passing day, each passing week, isn't it, Sam?
Yeah, this weekend we got a lot of work done on the firing line safety deck. So we've got about, I want to say 15 tons of 35 tons of rock and sand moved into place. We've got the first 16 by 16 foot area with all the joists up, and about half that area filled in with the sand. And we'll probably have the top going on the deck surface being installed probably Wednesday.
All right. Well, lots of progress there, and I'm not sure when I'll be down. I do want to participate in that class the 26th and 27th of this month, and I'm getting everything together to be able to do that. So I'm looking forward to seeing whatever improvements have been made over the next couple of weeks. You're on a mission here to get this thing done as quick as reasonably can be done, aren't you, sir?
Oh yeah, we're constantly improving the range. We have the 1,000-yard range takes up about 19 acres of 205 acres. Over the next 7 years, 5 years is the accelerated plan, but under the current cash flow strategy, we're easily finished in 7 years. This will be the largest, finest gun training facility in the Midwest. There won't be anything that even compares to it.
Well, that's good to know. And memberships are still available, I believe, aren't there?
We do. I think we have about 130 memberships still available. We're closing it off at a certain number because we want the members to be able to come and shoot. We don't want the facility to be overcrowded. Right.
Well, that's important, and that's very wise to do it that way. Okay, there's lots that can be discussed about pistols, and we could probably spend every show talking about nothing but pistols. Pistols are incredibly popular in this country, aren't they?
They are very popular. A lot of states have concealed carry laws, or they have constitutional carry. Hard to carry a rifle when you're out and about, and so the pistol is really the convenient answer to personal self-defense.
It is. Well, I started carrying concealed in 1967 in Vietnam, carrying my 1911 in what they call the Mexican carry, which was basically stuck inside my jeans when I was off duty, and of course I wore a full flap holster on duty, and my Thompson submachine gun also, which was handy because they both use the same ammunition. So I've been doing this a long time myself, and you're right. When it comes to self-defense and being discreet, there is no substitute for a pistol, is there?
No, but you've got to have the right ammo. People have to realize that the pistol is marginal on stopping a motivated large man. And so if you're going to use a pistol for self-defense, you really have to have ammo that performs properly, or you may not get the result that you intended.
Well, you're being very polite there. Not getting the result you intended might mean costing you your life.
Exactly.
No
See,
small
the
thing.
pistol is more. It's a lot of mythology that's sort of perpetuated by Hollywood. You know, they see the guy shot with a 9mm Glock, and it blows him backwards 20 feet at such a rate that he busts through the plate glass window and he falls 25 stories and hits the sidewalk. You know, this is Hollywood, right? This is not real world. You shoot a guy 9 times with a 9mm, he may come at you, tackle you, take your pistol away from you, shoot you with the other 2 rounds that are still in the pistol, and then he dies 5 days later. And so do you. So
Right.
Understanding that pistols have marginal energy for the task at hand, and having good ammo can make a huge difference in the effectiveness of your hits to stop a threat, that's an important thing to understand.
It is. Well, I've been investigating crime since 1973, and almost all criminals, almost all the time when they're in the act of committing a crime, have either alcohol or drugs or a combination of both in their body. Frequently, those drugs and or alcohol cause a dramatically reduced sensation of pain, may give them enhanced strength, and make them a very formidable person to be stopped. And there's multiple examples of men with these substances in their body having what appears to be superhuman strength and surviving multiple hits with heavy caliber projectiles and still able to commit murder against an innocent person.
Yeah, and if you look at some of the records, I think the FBI was in a gunfight. Some agents were. They call it the Miami Massacre. You can Google that and research it. But you had FBI agents with their pistols, and you had the perpetrators, the criminals, had rifles and pistols,
And body armor.
And it was horrible what happened to the FBI agents. There were some big losses there, and that's what happens when you take a pistol to a gunfight. So you've got to be very cognizant of what caliber you're using, the quality of ammunition you're using, and your ability to make good, solid hits from an accuracy standpoint. Training with that pistol, it just makes all the difference in the world in a defensive situation.
It does. It does. And we keep emphasizing this over and over again because it needs to be emphasized over and over again, doesn't it, sir?
It does. And, I load custom ammunition for my pistols because I have the ability to do that. Most people do not. And for people that aren't hand loaders, we really highly recommend that you verify that your pistol can handle a plus P round. That means it's got slightly higher pressure than normal. And that you buy Corbon ammunition. It's a Corbon plus P round. That ammo is incredibly high quality. They get maximum velocity out of their rounds and keep the pressures as low as possible. And if you need to stop someone with a factory-bought ammo, that Corbon Plus P ammo is something worth looking at.
Right. Well, there's some legal issues with using custom-loaded ammunition for self-defense that could certainly pop up if you're on the witness stand and you're being cross-examined by the opposition's attorney. I'm not going to put myself in that position. Obviously, it's a personal choice. But I agree with you, sir. The Corbon ammunition is the highest quality, most powerful pistol ammunition that a human being can buy.
I don't know if it's the most powerful, but it's certainly the highest quality that we've tested, and the velocities are real. some of these companies advertise velocities for their rounds, and you put them in your pistol, and they're not even close. And so the claims from a velocity standpoint look a lot more like marketing hype than real-world performance. But the Corban ammo that we've tested, not only do the bullets perform when they hit targets, but the velocities over our chronographs when we're clocking these rounds, oftentimes they're 15, 20 feet per second faster than what the factory's claiming. And so Corban, I have a lot of faith in the Corban people.
Right. Corban is Charlie, Oscar, November, Bravo, Oscar, November. Corban. And if somebody was called up Freedom Center, you can order people exactly the Corban ammunition that they need, can't you?
Yeah, I think it's Charlie, Oscar, Romeo,
Bravo, yeah, you're right.
Oscar, yeah. November.
Right. Yeah, Charlie, Oscar, Romeo, Bravo, Oscar, November. I apologize. But that's right. But you can get this ammunition for our listeners, can't you, sir?
Oh, yeah, we stock it. We have it on the shelves in inventory. And we also have practice rounds. You don't want to practice with expensive Corban ammunition.
No.
And, since Corban tends to have like a 90 grain, let's take the 9mm, for example. They have the 90 grain plus P round. 1,500 feet per second out of a 4-inch barrel pistol. Phenomenal velocities. 450 foot-pounds of energy. That's almost 45 ACP energy out of a 9mm. And you've got a hollow point that's going to perform fantastic. Now, you want to practice ammo, but you don't want to practice with ammo that doesn't recoil with a similar signature as your hollow point Corban ammo. So what do? You go to a 115 grain standard practice round, and you get almost the identical signature you get with the 90 grain plus P round.
Right. About the same recoil. Well, that's important also. And the Corban, does it come in 20-round boxes or 50-round boxes?
20-round boxes for the hollow points.
Okay. All right. Well, I've been telling people in my pistol classes ever since day one that if they want the best ammunition to get Corban, so it's nothing new for me, but for many of our listeners, Corban typically won't be on the shelf of many places, especially big box stores that sell ammunition. It's a kind of a specialty item. It's not mass produced, such as the big makers, but it's produced enough that you can get what you want, correct?
Yeah, and stop spending money with the big box stores. They're anti-gun. They're funding an agenda to take your rights away. Go to your local gun store. Go to your local gun dealer and buy quality ammo. And Absolutely. Maybe it costs $2 a box more, but how many hollow points are you going to shoot at criminals this week? You can afford the $2. Put good ammo in your gun and buy it from somebody that cares about your rights.
Absolutely. And thinking you can save money on ammunition can sometimes end up being a massive mistake, can't it?
Yeah, I think we see guys buy Wolf ammo and this cheap stuff for their AKs and their AR-15s, and they have nothing but problems, and the steel cases chew on the chamber of their barrels and ruin their barrels, and the powder and the pressures, they wind up breaking extractors. It just makes sense to buy quality ammunition. Even your practice ammo, if you go super cheap, you wind up with ammo that doesn't have consistent powder charges in the cases. You get some stuff that's too hot and it breaks your extractor. You get something that's too soft and it doesn't cycle. It's just not that hard to find decent ammo for a good price that you can train with. You have to know what to buy.
That's very true. And if you're buying reloads, you need to really know the source of the reloads. It has to be a trusted source. That's and I'm speaking from experience. But do you sell reloads for training purposes down there, Sam, at Freedom Center?
No, we're a Type 7 manufacturer. We manufacture new ammo.
Oh, okay, new ammunition. Okay.
And we train people how to reload their own cases.
Okay, all right. Well, I know that when you had your when you had your Eureka set up there in Eureka, Missouri, you had, I think, 6 or 7 presses set up to load ammunition. Is that still the current situation there in Freedom Center?
Oh, I think we have 12 different presses now.
Okay.
For various types of ammunition. So, you could come to a reloading class at the Freedom Center, and we can show you how to operate any one of these 12 different presses, depending on what type of loading you want to do.
Hold that thought. We've got a break. We'll be right back. On Monday, the 14th of October, we are going on a cruise. I hope you can go with us. We have cabins left to be reserved. About 2 weeks, and reservations are closed out, and it'll be fun. It will be romantic if you choose it to be. We're hoping that Sam's wife will get clearance to go on this cruise with us, and he'll let us know as soon as that happens. And, of course, Leon Green will be with us. It will be a lot of fun. Details at my website at thelibertyman.com. If you don't have internet access, give Betsy Murphy, our cruise director, a phone call. She'll mail you a nice full-color brochure. Betsy's telephone, here it is, 636-530-9502. I say again, 636-530-9502. This is Farmers Monday, visiting with Sam Andrews, the proprietor of Freedom Center USA. The Facebook page is Freedom Center USA. The telephone number is 417-718-2597. And if you wanted to take a concealed carry class, I will be the instructor. Sam will be the co-instructor. Give Sam a call. The concealed carry class, if we get enough students, it will take place the first Saturday in November. That will be Saturday, November the 2nd. Sam, let's continue, sir.
Okay, we've been talking about pistols quite a bit. It might be worthwhile to suggest certain types of pistols for certain people. So for large guys that like to open carry strong side, my favorite pistol is the FNX 45 Tactical. It has a threaded barrel for a suppressor. It has raised tritium night sights, so you can shoot it, aim it in the dark. It has a slide that's cut out for an RMR red dot, so if you're an old man like I am and you're a little bit farsighted, that red dot's a whole lot better than the iron sights in the dark and during the day. The pistol grip fits my hand excellent. It has a straighter edge on the backside, which fits my large hand quite well. I would highly recommend you look at that pistol if that's the situation you're in. Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, let's say you're an older lady and you're 65, 70 years old, and you're looking at a revolver because you don't quite have the finger strength to operate the semi-auto slides. A lot of people will go out and buy a .38 special revolver, and I don't recommend that. To the older gals with the slightly less hand strength, I recommend that you buy a Magnum, a .357 Magnum, like an LCR revolver or even a Rhino revolver, if you have the money, the budget, because those are built a little heavier. They have a little bit heavier barrel, a little bit heavier cylinder, and they recoil less in your hand. The felt recoils less, but you can also shoot the .38 special round through the gun, the low recoil round, through that revolver, or you have the option of loading some high-pressure .357 Magnum hollow points. And that seems to be the best solution for someone in that situation. And then, of course, there's a whole range of people in between those two extremes.
Absolutely. Now, we mentioned earlier the first hour about trying out a firearm before you make a purchase. There are gun ranges that have multiple firearms that can be rented. Preferably, they might have one or two that you were interested in buying, or you might be able to borrow the desired pistol from a friend. The point being, there's nothing like getting that pistol and shooting it as opposed to looking at nice photographs. There is no substitute for that, is there, sir?
No, it's great if you have the opportunity to try different pistols, figure out what fits your hand, figure out what level of recoil you're comfortable with. It helps you choose a caliber. It helps you choose something that personally fits you from an ergonomic standpoint. A lot of advantages to being able to try different pistols.
Absolutely. And there's been multiple thousands of times that well-meaning husbands, boyfriends, fathers, brothers have made recommendations for the woman, their lady friend, or relative or wife, that is not suitable for that woman. It simply is not. And I run into that all the time with my students. I'm sure you run into it all the time also. Recommendation for purchase of a pistol. And they may be well-meaning, but it ends up with the female having a bad experience, possibly and frequently to the point where they don't want anything to do with guns anymore. And I've seen that also, haven't you, sir?
I've been selling guns for over 30 years, John, and it's amazing how clean the line is between men and women when they're purchasing a pistol. A man will come in and he'll put a pistol in his hand and he'll say, well, how many rounds does this thing hold? And will it shoot plus P ammo? And can I get this with night sights? And a woman will come in and put a pistol in her hand, and she will instantly start talking about how the grip feels in her hand.
Right. Yep, that's very predictable. You've seen it. However, my website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. I was talking to a friend recently about all the images that all you listeners are finding out there, images of continents with different coastlines, new coastlines, in movies and TV shows. The list continues to grow. The films like The Hunger Games, how many tens of millions of people have seen that? The Godfather, and a couple of dozen others. It's an amazing list. If you find a movie or a TV show that has one of these images, get the screen capture to me. You get your choice of any of my 6 DVDs as a thank you. Let's keep this list growing. Also, my website, of course, are energy clinics for sale. If you have arthritis pain, what are you waiting for? Joint pain, back pain, same thing. Energy Cleaning will help. I stand behind Energy Cleaning with a 90-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do for me to you personally. Check out the Energy Cleaner at my website at thelibertyman.com. Read up on the patent application information, the wonderful testimonials. I'll be talking to Steve Whitman today about coming on the show. His testimony is very powerful. You can place your order right there at my website using PayPal, MasterCard, Visa. You can send me a check. My address is there. You can call my toll-free order line 24 hours a day, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. This is Firearms Monday. If you got a question or comment, anything to do with rifles, shotguns, pistols, ammunition, optics, training, legislation, give us a call at 800-313-9443. These, you mentioned local gun shops, Sam, and I encourage that also. The margin on selling firearms and ammunition is so small. I don't know how these places stay open, quite frankly. I really don't. But it's important to support the local gun shop, isn't it, Sam?
It really is. Years ago, people would rely on these local gun shops to learn how to clean guns, learn how to take care of guns, to get good ammo, to get good advice on reloading. And now everybody seems to rely on YouTube or on some other social media for information. And the real issue is the guys that know how things really work, they're not posting on YouTube. They're not posting instructional videos. I've seen more advice on hand loading from guys that are 23 years old that probably haven't loaded 5,000 rounds in their entire life. And they're giving other people advice on how to hand load or how to do something with a particular rifle cartridge. And it's just frightening, the lack of experience, the lack of background information and knowledge. And these local shops with these older men that have been doing things for 20, 30 years, they've made a lot of mistakes and they've learned a lot, and they can help you avoid making the same mistakes.
Absolutely. Well, the value of that is difficult to measure, and I agree absolutely. I've seen some YouTube videos involving firearms that were, quite frankly, very funny and humiliating. And I would be embarrassed to put anything like that out publicly, but it's amazing what some of these guys do. But your local gun shop is going to be staffed by men and women who are part of the gun culture. They understand firearms. They're intimately involved with firearms and ammunition and optics. And you're probably going to get fairly decent advice most of the time, won't you?
Yeah, and if you don't get good advice from that guy, then try another shop. You'll eventually find somebody who really knows how things work. And if you have questions or you're getting disparate information, call us at the Freedom Center or call in on the show, and we'll give you a way to test to figure out if one guy or the other guy is correct or if they're both wrong. But generally, it's really not hard to figure out what works and what doesn't.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, well, let's get back to these pistols again. I know when I'm on a bodyguard assignment, I typically carry 2 pistols with me. Otherwise, for daily carry, I just carry a pistol. But when there's a threat to somebody's life, which means a threat to my life as the executive protection detail, I always carry 2 pistols with me under those conditions. How about you, Sam?
I don't like being in a security situation without a rifle.
Well, that's ideal, obviously.
Me personally. But, I generally have a pistol strong side outside the belt, and I generally have a pistol on an ankle holster. And occasionally I'll have a third pistol, depending on how dicey the situation is. I'll have a third pistol in a deep concealment pad underneath my weak side arm.
There we go.
And so, the phrase that applies to this question in the special operations community, there's a cliche, and it's 1 is none, and 2 is barely enough.
Okay, well, that's a different take on it. Typically, I hear it, 1 is none and 2 is 1, but it's basically you're achieving the same goal. It's called redundancy, and anything that's really serious, redundancy gets to be real important real quick, doesn't it?
It can save a life, without a doubt. It's that important.
Many of us in Vietnam, we had without any authority from the U.S. government or the U.S. Army, a pistol, and that was just the way it was, and maybe only a little .25 caliber, but most of these men had some kind of pistol concealed somewhere on their body or in their gear. We got a caller on hold here. We got Kyle in Montana. Good morning, Kyle.
Good morning, gentlemen. I had a thought, Sam, and I was wondering, so there used to be, and I'm sure there probably still is, a police report showing the caliber that was used by the policemen in one-shot stops. And I'm curious, is that sort of really a fallacy? I mean, because, I know for a long time it used to be the 45 ACP with 185 grain, and then it was the 357, and then it was the 45. And I'm wondering, because I know a lot of guys that were used to be deputies that are friends of mine that used to be nothing but diehard 45 ACP guys. And now every single one of those guys are using, just like what you said, either Gold Dot or Corbon or some kind of 9mm. But I'm curious, if you use that type of ammunition, is the one-shot stop scenario truly kind of a fallacy?
No, it's not a fallacy, but it's also not foolproof. It's not going to happen every time. For over 2 decades, as far as law enforcement data collection on shootings, for over 2 decades, the Illinois Highway Patrol, the state troopers in Illinois, generally set the bar for one-shot stops in shootings of perpetrators. And it was generally between 91 and 95%, depending on the year the data was collected, and they used a .357 revolver. So the .357 for over 20 years pretty much was at the top of the heap as far as one-shot stop percentages with a pistol. But keep in mind, 91%, what if the 9% that doesn't stop happens to be your perp? Okay, and so the other thing that you'll notice in law enforcement trends with pistols is that the farther south you go and the warmer the weather, the more likely a guy is to be in a T-shirt, the more often you see the 9mm. As you progress north towards Montana, traditionally over the last 30 years, you see a lot bigger calibers because the smaller calibers tend to plug when they go through heavy coats or leather jackets, that type of thing, and you get failures to stop. So you see a trend as you migrate north to bigger and bigger pistol calibers for that reason. Now, having said that, what's changed the game is the quality and the technology in the ammunition. So now that you have a 90-grain bullet running 1,500 feet per second out of a 9mm with a hollow point that doesn't plug and actually performs, now a law enforcement officer looks at the choice of, do I want to have 8 rounds in a .45, or do I want to have 17 rounds of ammo with good performing bullets that run almost the same amount of energy as my .45? And that's why you're going to see these northern departments start to migrate to the 9mm with the plus P rounds and the bullets that perform in multiple scenarios.
Yeah, that pretty much has happened around here. I know of about 4 deputies. Some of them I've known for 30 years, good friends of mine, and used to be almost hilarious because, he was such a .45 guy, one of them in particular. And the last time I was talking with him, he said, yeah, he had went to a 9 and with more ammo because he said actually too, one of the scenarios that they look at is that the perpetrators or the problems, the bad guys, those guys are carrying 9s and they've got a lot more ammunition than what the deputy is carrying.
And that's entirely true. The nature of crime has changed. 30 years ago, you had the lone burglar, the lone rapist, the lone psycho. Now you have these bands of communist criminals running around where you may have to deal with 5 or 10 or 15 perps in a scenario. And so now the round count starts to weigh heavier than maybe the ultimate performance of one bullet.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's all I had for this morning. I just happened to think about that, and I always appreciate Monday mornings.
Okay, thanks for the call, Kyle. We appreciate it. Call number is 800-313-9443. There's lots to this and lots of questions, and we have answers, don't we, Sam?
Well, we certainly have tested a lot of things, and we have answers on a number of things that we've tested. I don't like to give answers on things that I haven't tested, or you can't just logically deduce a good answer. But if you have questions about firearms and ammunition, we probably have a good answer for you.
Absolutely, and that's what we do here on Mondays on Firearms Monday. Range time, and we talk about lots of things, but people need to spend time on the range putting lead down range, don't they, sir?
Yeah, there's no substitute for practicing the proper technique. People say practice makes perfect, and that's the lie. The truth is practice makes permanent. So you need to get a little bit of training so you know the proper techniques to practice, and then you can make dramatic improvements in short order. Absolutely.
Absolutely. No substitute for that. And I like competition to improve and enhance skills. The pressure of that of being in competition, the range officer with the stopwatch and wanting to compete and do well in the competition. You're spending money typically when you enter these competitions. That really is an excellent form of training as well, I believe. How about you, sir?
Oh, I love competing with firearms because it does. It puts that added pressure on you. It increases the stress level, and you get to repetitively perform under stress. And then when you have to perform under stress in the real world, it's not near as stressful. Your blood pressure isn't near as high. You're not near as tense or nervous. You just kind of go on to automatic pilot and perform what you need to perform and take care of business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And these competitions take place all over the country, don't they?
Oh, they do. A lot of the ranges, they have competitions every weekend. That's why we limit the membership at the Freedom Center, because a lot of our members work during the week. They want to shoot on the weekends. And if you have a competition every weekend, you either have to shoot in the competition or you don't get to shoot at the range you bought a membership for. No, and so there's a lot of advantages to joining a range if you're competing, or finding a range that doesn't hold matches every single weekend.
Right. Well, that's good to know that if you do get a membership at Freedom Center USA, that the range will be available for your use. And it would be very disappointing and to pay for membership and find the use is not available because competition is taking place.
Yeah, and if it's a bench rest competition and you want to train tactical, what are you supposed to do if there's a match every weekend? You know, it's a difficult deal. But you can, if you look around, you'll find a place that fits your needs, and you'll be able to train and be effective.
Absolutely. Well, you all are sitting out there listening to Sam and I talk. It's Firearms Monday, and you're wondering, you're pondering. Wondering and pondering does not achieve the goal. What achieves the goal is seeking out professional training, getting high-quality equipment, and then training with it yourself. Correct?
Absolutely. And I tell people that 2 days of training and 20 days of practice twice a month, over a year, is a lot more cost-effective, and you'll be a lot better shooter than if you take 7 days of training and then don't practice all year long. These skills are perishable. You have to shoot on a regular basis to stay sharp and to stay accurate.
Absolutely. There's no substitute for that. And these are perishable skills. The skills don't go away entirely, but you lose your edge pretty quickly, don't you?
Oh, yeah. And it's interesting that the pistol skills perish. They go away faster than the rifle skills if you don't practice. And I think that's because there's more fine motor skills involved in firing a pistol. I think that's why those skills will disappear from you quicker if you don't keep them sharp.
Absolutely. So I'm hoping to motivate listeners here to take action, to do what they got to do to acquire the skills, acquire the proper equipment, acquire the training, so that they can defend innocent human life and defend our country if necessary.
Yeah, this country could come unglued in the next 2 years with all these criminals in politics and in government. And if you have any mindset at all, any motivation in the direction of defending yourself, your community, your country, now would be the time to get training. Don't put it off. Get a day or two of training, and then spend a couple hours at the range twice a month, and keep those skills sharp.
Absolutely. Here's our last break. We'll be right back. Here on Monday, the 14th of October. This is Firearms Monday, visiting with Sam Andrews with Freedom Center USA. Telephone number down there in beautiful Lebanon, Missouri is 417-718-2597. Sam, we got about 3 minutes here, sir.
We talked about cleaning that firing pin and that slide, getting the back of that slide cover off, and getting that fire pin and slide broken down all the way, and cleaning that properly about every 400 rounds. so you don't get light primer strikes, and getting your holster lined up so that it fits you properly. You know, that's an important thing. That's a very important thing to do. And it's just really critical that you train on a regular basis. All of these skills are perishable. And so make sure you get to the range at least twice a month to work with your handguns and your rifles so that you're familiar. And when you want to go to the next level, come to the Freedom Center for training. We will teach you how to do things by feel so that you can do them in the dark. And you have the same proficiency and skill levels in the dark as you do during the day.
Well, very few people train in the dark. I would say almost none train in the dark. Would that be a pretty fair statement?
Yeah, I'd probably say 95% don't ever take the time to train in the dark. But it's important. And you need to understand, when we have problems in this country, large-scale problems, everything's going to go down in the dark. It's going to happen at night. It's not going to happen in broad daylight. You need to be able to function with your weapon systems in the dark at night.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because if things go sideways and we end up with massive civil disorder, you need to keep in mind half of every day is darkness. And we're getting to that time of year now, of course, where that's even more so. And failure to train at night could lead to some very disastrous consequences, couldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You will lose in the dark if you haven't trained in the dark. You will lose your life. Whatever you're defending, you won't be able to defend. Whatever you're protecting will be taken from you. And so it's very, very important to get busy training in the dark. And you can dry fire practice. You can do your mag change practices. Don't take any ammo into a bathroom, but you can go in a bathroom and shut the door in broad daylight. Practice your mag changes in the dark. I mean, there's ways to get there from here. Just got to be a little creative. Take a few minutes once or twice a week and get a little practice in.
Absolutely. That's one way to do it. Whatever it takes to get it done. People need to be creative and get that practice in, practice the magazine changes in the dark, operating the slide and the safety in the dark. All these things can be done right at home. Make sure there's no live ammunition present even in the room, and do it safely. And just develop these skill sets, these skill sets. Sam, we're out of time, sir. Thank you.
John, thank you. Let freedom ring, brother.
Absolutely. That's it for the day. Get your medical supplies.